What's going on, people? Welcome back to the channel. Obviously back again with a post-match review, and for once it's a good game. You know, it was a game that I watched and I enjoyed. You know, there was no stress, no issues, no complaints. One second, let me just mute myself on this other screen. Yeah, just I'm just happy. You know, I'm so happy. Happy New Year. I'm so happy. I never expected it, all that kind of jazz. But thanks very much for joining the stream. If you've joined, Rapper Kid straight in the comments of Martial. Oh, okay. Yes, I'm here now. Sorry about the slight delay. But yes, you know, very, very good win. Excellent win from the team. You know, very, very good performance from the boys. And yeah, just gonna go into it, get into my views on the game, my views on the performance, and starting off straight from the top. You know, it's first of all nice to see a United W. Thank you very much, Ade, in the chat. It's nice to see a United W. You know, like we've been struggling, we've been suffering, we've been, you know, starving of wins all season so far, and it's nice just to see that, you know, we finally got one back under our belt. Fair enough, it's just the Carabao Cup. Fair enough, there's rotation, you know, and that's the first point really I wanted to make. You know, the rotation in the team was actually good to see. You know, it's good to see Ten Hag rotating the team around a little bit. You know, I think, you know, if you saw my preview for the game, I mentioned that it would be nice to see that. You know, people were jumping in the comments. I think Rapper Kid was in the comments saying, you know, it'd be good to see the rotation as well. And yes, it was good to see, because we had people like Varane coming back in, which is a bit weird because, you know, maybe you didn't really necessarily want him in, but it was nice to see him. You know, Garnacho from the start as well, and he delivered. You know, it was nice to see that he could deliver from the beginning of a game. It's a shame it doesn't count towards our goal difference in the Premier League. That's right. But yeah, you know, let's get into it. Let's get into my main points, you know, and then I'll interact a little bit more with the comments. The first point, Amrabat at left back. Now, when you look at the formation that we started with, obviously Amrabat was sitting there left back. We didn't really have any 10 in the chat. Ten Hag, shout out Ten Hag. We didn't really have any fullback, like our usual fullbacks. You know, we didn't have our Reguilon or Luke Shaw, obviously, out injured. So it was good to see that. It was interesting, rather, to see that Amrabat played left back. Ten Hag said that he's played there before, you know, and then when you saw how he played in game, unbelievable player. You know, he did basically, and I've said it a couple of times, I said it on my Twitter. He basically did what, you know, was it Partey did for Arsenal, where he was playing right back and inversions. He was going into that midfield, you know, and he, to be honest, he played everywhere in this game. You know, there's a few points I want to make about Amrabat, but he played absolutely everywhere. And let me just give you his stats for the game, right? He came off around, I don't know, 60, 70 minutes. He 100% tackles won, 96% pass accuracy, 91 touches, 78 out of 81 passes completed. That's excellent. 5 out of 6 long passes completed, 5 out of 6 duels won, and 1 shot, which was dreadful. The shot was dreadful, but overall, the guy played an exceptional game. And on that note, it actually helped. I'll move straight on to the next point, really, which is that Casemiro was easily man of the match, right? But if it wasn't for Amrabat, you wouldn't have seen how, and Mejbri, actually, to be fair, I'll shout out Mejbri as well. It was absolutely excellent what those two guys were doing in midfield, you know, because once again, like I said, Amrabat was playing left back, but he was everywhere. He was covering the midfield. He was basically doing what Bruno does, but obviously Bruno does it further forward a little bit. And, you know, because we want more from Bruno going forward, we're a bit more annoyed about Bruno getting everywhere, I guess, sometimes. But Amrabat, absolutely lovely. Also, Mejbri, absolutely lovely. And that allowed Casemiro to do what he did today, which was, fair enough, control the game. You know, because really, truly, we always complain that Casemiro doesn't have that, you know, Frankie de Jong kind of aspects to his game. We kind of see him as a destroyer a little bit, you know, and he doesn't carry the ball forward, but he does have a range of pass, and he showed it today. And obviously, he's amazing in the air, absolutely amazing in the air. Got that second goal for us, because the first goal was who scored the first goal? Somebody in the chat, let me know. Garnacho, obviously. Garnacho scored the first goal. And yeah, Amrabat and Mejbri allowed Casemiro to be man of the match. So that's why I've titled this midfield masterclass, because the midfield delivered what we wanted it to. And I haven't even finished about the midfield, because Mason Mount, right? 60 minutes, I think he gave us today. And not even 60 minutes. He gave us 45 minutes, came off at half time. And obviously that's because he's just come back from injury. But even in that 45 minutes, he was absolutely exceptional. I was very, very pleased with his performance. I'm sure, you know, you see across the fan base, across the socials, people were pleased with how Mason Mount performed in this game. You know, he was in that 10 position, and we'll talk about him and Bruno in a minute going forward. But in that 10 position, he delivered. Obviously, set piece from the corner, lovely, lovely set piece onto Casemiro's head. Casemiro is amazing, absolutely amazing at set pieces. So yeah, I'd love to see more of Mason Mount in that kind of competition. In that kind of position. But we need to discuss maybe in a little bit about going forward. How are we going to get that? You know, are we going to drop Bruno? What's going to happen there? We'll discuss that in a minute. On the side point, Casemiro is actually our top scorer now, right? He's got 2 goals in the Champions League the other game. I think he scored 1 against Nottingham Forest in the Premier League. Obviously, he's now got 1 in the Carabao Cup. He's got 4 goals, and he's our top scorer. I think Bruno's our second top scorer because he's got 2. So yeah, I mean, Casemiro from DM, absolutely unreal. And yeah, it's just nice to see that energy in the midfield. It was very interesting to see Mount come off at halftime though, because fair enough, it's for the injury situation, but I thought maybe he would let him play for a bit longer, you know, and then obviously Amrabat then went into midfield, and then he came off around, I think it was 60, 70 minutes. Another big player, another big key point to make. Varane being back is absolutely huge for this team. And I think we underappreciate Varane so much. We don't, you know, I think Flex calls him the Ghost, the Wraith, the Phantom, because he is absolutely unreal. You know, when what he does for the team, he brings so many other players. He makes everybody look good. Maguire was in the centre-back position today, and we didn't have any complaints. There was one moment when, in the first half, before anybody scored, when the ball was, when Crystal Palace crossed it into the box, and Maguire was right in front of his own penalty box, facing the goal, and I feared that he would score an own goal. I thought, here we go. Maguire's going to have an absolute mare. It's going to be an own goal, and he's going to get all the memes again. But he cleared it off his line. And for the rest of the game, he looked very assured. I have to give him his props. But once again, I think that is aided and abetted by a man like Varane, who was absolutely excellent in his position back in the team. Came off once again around 60, 65 minutes, which is good to see. 60 minutes, 59 minutes, which is good because going forward, we're going to need him for the next game, which is against Crystal Palace again. But going forward, we need this guy to stay injury-free, because obviously Martinez is injured anyway, but he even makes Martinez look better as well. He is such a huge linchpin to our midfield, and we need him to be available. Same, like I said, with the impact that Amrabat had. Absolutely unbelievable. And yes, like I said, for me, I love Bruno Fernandes. Casemiro, man of the match. Now, speaking of Bruno Fernandes, right? Let's get some interaction here in the chat, right? What do we do now going forward with this team? Because this performance was excellent. You know, we had control. I haven't even spoken about people like Pelestri on the right hand side, Garnacho. You know, he's on the thumbnail. I haven't even said anything about him yet, but he was nice to see that he could deliver from the start. But what do we do going forward? Because we've got a midfield that worked today, right? With Casemiro, Amrabat. I'm going to say Amrabat, but even though he played, obviously, he started off on the left-hand side, but he was everywhere. He was in that midfield. What do we do going forward with this midfield now? Because you've got Bruno to come back into this team. Money Mount looked really good. Mason, Money Mace. He looked amazing, you know, in that number 10 position. Casemiro can't be dropped. He's not going to be dropped. Then you've got Amrabat, who basically needs to play. So what are we going to do with this midfield? Then you say, okay, somebody might say to me, play Mount or Bruno on the right. Like exactly, Suleiman's already said it. Play Bruno on the right or Mount on the right. I would say maybe play Mount on the right, play Bruno, Amrabat, Casemiro in that midfield. But then the problem you have there is, okay, what about Pelestri? He played well today. I mean, he was excellent today. He was very direct. You know, he was you know, in my group chat, one of my boys was saying he reminded me of he reminded me that he went to the Matoma University School of Learning on the right wing, because he was excellent. He was direct. He was just neat and tidy. He wasn't rash, and he worked hard defensively as well. So all the things that we praised Anthony for, he did plus more. Now, obviously, I think there was a point when I thought, you know, if Anthony was on the pitch at a certain point when Pelestri brought the ball on the right hand side, Anthony would have shot, and probably it was the right thing to do in that position to shoot. But across the whole game, I think Pelestri was excellent. So then when you're thinking, okay, what's Ten Hag going to do? And yes, the answer might be stick Mount on the right hand side, have Bruno in the 10 position, have Amrabat in the 8 and Casemiro in the 6 as he was doing today. But I actually think another option is to play not Ericsson, Bruno in that 8 position, because if you remember, if you think back to what's it called? Yeah, the Bruno love is lacking in this chat. This is why I have to push Bruno love, because I love Bruno Fernandes, right? And I'm gonna stick him. I'm gonna force him into this team as much as possible. Bruno Fernandes is our captain. Remember, guys, remember that, and he's deserving of the captaincy position. Now, remember, let's move back. Let's go back to last season when we were facing Barcelona, and Bruno masterclass. He played in that 8 position because we needed someone to play in the 8, and he was unreal. And a lot of people didn't think he would be able to do that, because they were like, oh, Bruno's very very rash, he's very hero ball, very wasteful. But he controlled himself that game, and he played very, very well. So I could see him dropping into that 8 position. He's got the tattoo number 8 on him. He wears the number 8 now. He could play in the actual 8 position, put Mount in the 10, and then you've got a decision to make about Casemiro and Amrabat. That's the only issue there, right? Right now, Amrabat could just play left back, to be honest, and help out in the midfield anyway. But long term, yes, it's nice to see. It's a good problem to have. It's a good issue to have that we've got, quality, hopefully, backup to Bruno Fernandes. Fernandes doesn't have to play a million games a season anymore, because hopefully Mount can come into that 10 position. Yes, you can play Mount or Bruno right hand side. I prefer Mount on the right than Bruno on the right. Although, Bruno on the right against Burnley got us that world-class goal. And I'm going to keep pushing that, because you guys are trying to slander Bruno in my chat. That is not allowed. That can't be allowed. The Uwa family asked, what does Mount bring to United? And let's deal with that really quickly, because Mount today, in fact, all of the other games as well, I think Mount has been pretty decent. I think he's just the easy scapegoat, because he's not, let's say, the most productive in terms of, okay, look at when Bruno first joined the team. Bruno was banging in goals and assists, and Mount is now wearing that number 7, and we're thinking he must be getting us goals and assists. But I think even in the first 2 games that he played 1 game, full game, and a half game, before he got injured. He is a hard-working guy, and he presses a lot. He presses from the front. He works very hard. He's kind of like a Fred, but maybe with a bit more quality on the ball as well. You saw that again with the set piece he took today. In that 10 position, he brings that same kind of energy, but also he can play the 1 or 2 touches. Like if you watch the game today, he had some very, very good touches. There was a point where he was right on the edge of the box. Maybe another player might have, tried to take a snapshot. He went straight. He did a nice little pass to, I think it was Palestri, and then he was through on goal. Obviously, the keeper saved it, but Mount had these nice little touches, and he does bring a lot to this team. Personally, in my opinion, I think he's really, really good. I agree 100% that no one should be undroppable. 100%. Bruno should not be, straight in the team without any question mark or anything like that. He obviously has to be able to fight for his position, and going forward, that is what we're hoping for. If all the players are coming back injury free, we've got this kind of options for the manager to pick from. Hopefully, we can start climbing up the table in the Premier League. Hopefully, we can start continuing these and getting some wins under our belt. And it's really, really good to see. It's absolutely lovely to see. And Suleiman says, can't wait for people to cry for Bruno if he doesn't play. Rough subscribers, you got. Oh well, I know. I agree. I agree, Suleiman. People are very, very, very quick to criticize Bruno, but as soon as he gets injured, and we will miss him, we would miss him. But I fully understand. I get it. I get the frustration sometimes with Bruno. I get the the narrative sometimes that people have around Bruno, and I 100% agree that no one is undroppable. Same with Rashford. Rashford. I'm surprised nobody's had a go at Rashford. But I don't think I do think we take Bruno for granted sometimes. And like I said, I am a Bruno apologist, so I will constantly defend Bruno as much as possible. I don't need any stats to back me up. I'm not even going to use his stats. I just love Bruno Fernandes. Take it or leave it. That's what you're going to get. Once again, Suleiman says Bruno drops a stinker now and again, but most times it's the whole doing bad when he had a bad game. I don't see the scapegoating. It is what it is, really. People have their favorites. Let's talk about, speaking of favorites, let's talk about Anthony Martial, right? We've talked about the 2 other goal scorers, and it's only fair that I mention Anthony Martial because he obviously scored a goal today. And, in the first half of the game, in the first, areas of the game. You didn't really see Martial getting into the game much. You know, there's a point where people in my group were even saying he hasn't really touched the ball. He had, but he wasn't. It's very hard, I think, for a United striker to get much of the ball. You know, it's a graveyard shift almost. And but Martial got into the game as the game grew on, and he wasn't bad at all. You know, it was good, and it was an excellent finish. You know, Mo Salah, as they say, but it was excellent finish. You know, lovely pass again from Casemiro, and lovely finish from Martial. You know, it's good to see Martial has been here now for, you know, the whole season without an injury. By God's grace, that'll continue. That'll continue to be the case, because, you know, it's nice that we need these guys to continue to be available for the manager. Because the last question I believe they asked Ten Hag today again was about Jadon Sancho, and in his post match. I haven't watched the press conference, but I saw the quick one on Sky Sports after the game, and the journalist asked him about Sancho. You know, is Sancho going to get back in the team? Does he just have to apologize? Ten Hag said, "Look, I'm not going to talk about players that are not available. It's all in the ball is in his court, essentially. And, you know, you want our good players to be available. And it's a shame that Jadon wasn't available for this game, because these are the kind of games that you'd want him to be playing. You know, him and Martial, those kind of players, they're very, you know, they love close spaces. Like you're saying in the chat there, the old Martial, you know, the kind of, he can take players on, he can slow the game down, speed it up straight away. And just Sancho's that kind of player where he does slow it down, yes, but he's got a really good touch on him. And there's times in this game where you're thinking you need that kind of player, that kind of tiki-taka, or I don't like using the word tiki-taka, but you know what I mean? You know, that kind of player that will be able to move the ball around and, you know, play in those tight spaces. But yes, we do need that old Martial back, the Marshall back in the team. But those are my thoughts really on this game. You know, we've got Palace again next on Saturday. I'm not sure if it's a 3 o'clock kickoff or another 8 o'clock, probably a 3 o'clock one, because we played Tuesday today. But yeah, you know, we need to beat them again. And I think the narrative now, especially looking at the chat, right? If Bruno and Rashford are coming back into this team, it's facts, right? It's not going to be the same 11 we'll play today. We're going to have, you know, I'll do a preview on it, but it's going to be Rashford back in the team, Bruno back in the team, Højlund back probably up front, even though he came on today for like 30 minutes. If those guys don't get a result against Palace now, people are going to be calling for their heads. They're going to be asking for, oh, look, this is the Bruno that you wanted. I'm sure this chat here, the chat here will be talking about, you know, oh, well, Bruno's playing this game. You know, we didn't have any issues last game against Palace. So really, those players now need to bring a performance. And I think that is one other thing that we're going to get from this kind of good quality backup in the team. Now, let's not get carried away, right? I don't like doing this, because we did it against Burnley. We say, oh, this is Burnley. Oh, this is Crystal Palace. And you can only beat the team in front of you. But yes, let's not get carried away. We faced some good teams against, you know, Arsenal, Spurs, and Brighton. And we'd want to be competing and beating those teams. And for spells, we played really well against those teams. But we want to be beating those teams. You know, there's caveats, there's context in the fact that we've missing so many players, you know, we've had issues off the pitch, but we still want to be able to beat those teams, not just beat the scrubs, essentially. And no disrespect to Palace, they're not scrubs, but you get what I mean. So next game, like Suleiman said, I'm backing you, Ram. I'm completely with you. Bruno, goal in the 6 next game. Watch this space, and I'm gonna say that again in the preview for the game as well. Look out for that preview. Bruno, goal and assist against Palace on Saturday. Watch this space. On that note, we're gonna leave it there. You know, nice quick 20-minute stream just to give you my reaction. Thanks again for joining in the chat. We'll be doing this more often, and what I'm trying to do, I think the next international break is coming up very, very soon. That's right, the real scrubs are Luton. The real scrubs are people like Luton. Burnley really are scrubs. We should have dusted them, but you know, Bournemouth looking good, all these kind of teams. But anyway, the international break's coming up soon, and in the international break, I'm gonna do a longer live stream, maybe 1 or 2, just to kind of see where we are. Hopefully by then we've won a few more games, and hopefully we can all get into the chat a bit more. A live preview would be a bit tricky, because let's maybe not a live preview. Maybe we'll see. Once again, thanks again for joining the stream. Like the stream up, because it's really good for the algorithm. I hear, you know, I'm just a newbie baby starting out, but I hear it's good for you to like up the stream. Once again, let me like it myself on this other screen. And yeah, subscribe to the channel. You know, send it to your friends, send it to your mates, send it to your other United fans and the haters as well. Send the Arsenal fans to come here and come on, see us being happy for once. See you on the next one. Thanks again for watching. Let's see if I can do the when they do the closing and then they send the what's it, the outro comes on. I haven't quite got that yet, but it's coming in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.